Hello and welcome, it's me, LinkingX2, back in game number 3 in our Down 1 Keria T1 series. Before we get right into the draft, I again ask of you to check down in the description my socials, Twitter and Twitch if you're interested to hang out and chat with me or anything else. But let's get right into the review of the second game before we head right into the draft. So T1 with a very convincing early game, stifling a bit in the mid game based on their objective control and their decision making concerning especially the Drakes. If you've watched the game, of course you saw it, but they succeeded. 2 Infernal Drakes, 2 down 1 Keria nearly for free. One completely for free after a bad reset, which gave down 1 Keria Infernal Soul Point, and then obviously the last one in the quite infamous for today at least Baron for Infernal Soul trade-off, which is usually quite terrible. In this case T1 was so far ahead, and the comp also had reached the breaking point that it didn't really matter all that much, but usually that is of course a very bad decision to do for numerous reasons. Here in the third draft, we see T1 banning again the same 3 champions, which again, I repeat it because it's important, are 3 champions that are usually first pick worthy for the blue side, or many teams consider to be first pick worthy. So it's very strange and uncommon for T1 to ban these. Down 1 Keria banning the same 2 champions, the Nocturne and the Zinjao, and also banning now Rise against Faker, after I think Faker has played this champion like 5 times in a row, 6 times, 7 times in a row. Obviously very strong, and we cannot talk about the performance Faker puts on with this champion. If you ask anyone who is Rise, who is Faker, the answer is going to be the another. He has the skin, he is the champion, man. So banning this out is quite good. Someone here with a bit of a different start, picking the Rumble instead of the Gwen for their side. Changing things up. Again, as I ranted in the prior video of the draft number 2, I am not a fan of Gwen jungle at all. Gwen is OP, but Gwen jungle is not where she really belongs, in my opinion. So here seeing the Rumble in the jungle most likely going to be a bit more to my liking at least, and the Lucian Rumble mid lane jungle duo lacks a bit of CC, but certainly has the damage to deal with most opponents. T1 here stealing kinda the Aphelios away from Ghost. Aphelios Thresh bot lane. If you remember Spring, more or less the end of Spring, this was a bread and butter duo for T1 with both iterations, Gumayusi Keria and Teddy Keria as well. So they're certainly able to play this. In the last game, Keria did look a bit, quite a bit better than game number 1. Gragas usually his champion, but today was probably not his Gragas day, but his Braum was quite nice to see. So we're hoping to see more from his Thresh. Obviously Keria and Beryl are by most considered to be the best supports in the world. Yes, sometimes people mention Life, but it's Beryl and Keria. Seeing Keria on his famous Thresh will hopefully be a treat to watch. Down 1 Keria here also stealing a pick away, like T1 with the Aphelios. They pick Canna's Jace away. Of course that is one factor, but also for Khan, Jace is his most played champion, and his champion overall. It's the champion he got popular with, and the champion that rose him to the player that he is now, and the player we remember him over his long career. In the ban phase, T1 banning again the Leona, this time the Leona instead of the Wukong, and they're not banning Zac. This is probably because Rumble is being picked, but Rumble could also go into top mid, and Zac could be here a potential 5th pick, because Zac Rumble, yes, it's quite a bit of AP damage, but with Lucian Jace already being locked in at that point, still a possibility. So yeah, I'm not too fond of that idea, but T1 here also banning the Kalista against Ghost, which, yeah, Ghost has played it a bit, but not really famous for it. Someone Kia banning some standard picks, not really too fond of the Irelia Wukong bans here. Then in the second half, not sure if you picked it up, we can go back here. Lulu being locked in for Barrel, most likely, yes, there's mid and top Lulu, but no. So yeah, Lulu already indicating the Kog'Maw. You pick the Lulu first, because if you pick the Kog'Maw, Faker could pick a Lulu mid in response. Yes, Lulu mid against Lucian would be quite suicidal, but they could figure something out. So you want to secure the Lulu first and then the Kog'Maw, and then T1 here, as you see, locking in the Azir and the Lee Sin. Lee Sin is quite questionable here. Yes, Lee Sin into Rumble is quite nice, and he has a bit of lane pressure to play around with, but Azir Lucian not really offering too much for him. Yes, it's Faker, but also on the other side it's Showmaker, so it's not really harsh, even though Azir obviously Faker's most played champion. And then with the top lane, Viego into Jace, not really a lane you want to go to too much. Yes, Viego would appreciate the help, but yeah, it's not really that great of a lane. But we have to mention here that it is red side Jace, so he is a bit more vulnerable than a blue side Jace would be. Assuming that he plays the lane correctly or pressures the lane heavily, let's say that, and then pushing the lane in makes him more vulnerable to the terrain layout. In the bot lane, Keria Thresh versus Kog'Maw Lulu. Yeah, it is scaling versus scaling and two conditional hyper carries. But the thing is, why Kog'Maw is a bit easier and non-conditional, or feels a bit less conditional to pull off than the Aphelios is. Aphelios needs the enemy to do something. The enemy to run into him, move into him slowly. That's what he really likes. And the Kog'Maw, yes, the enemy can also run into him. He likes to shred bruisers and so on. But Kog'Maw's condition for his hyper carry potential to pop off is time. So it is inactivity from the enemy, and not certain behavior or certain movement. So yeah, Kog'Maw a bit more reliable here with the Lulu by his side, obviously very much amplified as a champion. Some interesting maneuvers here with the Lulu in top lane, but way more interesting I see here on the screen is first Lulu with Ignite, obviously getting a bit of pressure, and Kog'Maw Lulu level 1 is not that bad. Kog'Maw with his W on level 1, surprisingly strong. But what is a bit strange here is the Predator for Keria. This is really, really strange. It's because domination as a main tree is already something. So it's not a misclick like Aftershock or Guardian. It is very, very strange here. But let's not commentate the game too much. It's not really what we're doing. Lane matchups. Top lane, already mentioning, it is quite in Canna's favor here. What do you expect? It's a Jace against melee champion, right? Jungle, mentioning that Oner in the 1v1s he has the advantage, but he will struggle a bit with lane pressure. Yes, top lane will be in Damonkia's favor, as probably is mid lane as well, with the Lucian into the Azir. Bot lane, we were just talking about it. For the laning phase, level 1 goes a bit more into Lulu Kog'Maw favor. Then later on, with a bit more levels, the T1 bot lane can ramp up a bit. But considering the wave clear power that comes in from the Kog'Maw Lulu, it's not really something where they can do all too much. I expect both lanes to push in and then Keria to use the Predator and probably early boots or way earlier boots to seek roams, to assist Oner in invades, or maybe help Faker out in the mid lane. So overall, which draft do I like more? So T1 has some aggressive elements here in the top lane with Viego and Lee Sin moving into the enemy team, like seeking to dive. Like, I mean, they're bruisers, so they're not really hard dive champions. But yeah, the way they operate in fights obviously very much forward. The rest of their team kiting backwards, so that's not great. That's not great. Usually these champions that are more forward are picked to help with early game, but T1 already suffering a lot in early game, so they would need a more stabilizing force here. Yeah, first blood here for Keria, very nice. So I don't think the Viego and the Lee Sin are really the stabilizing force that T1 might have looked for. But also the thing is, Viego scaled, solo kill, nice. Scales very nicely into the late game as well. So even while he's not really operating in team fights the way the other two champions of T1, the Azir and the Aphelios want to, he's still doing a fine job in terms of his power curve. On the other side here, can Keria punish this bit of diversion, bit of bipolar nature of T1's comp? And I think maybe. Jay's poke and the Kog'Maw poke, as well as long-range equalizers, can make it so that the squishier backline carries of T1 get zoned from the fight, and then the damage of the double AD carries can absolutely isolate the dive champions or the dive-in champions, the Sin and the Viego. So yeah, it won't be too easy for T1 to deal with the Keria comp if Keria lands their skill shots. That's what it's really all about for Keria. Soften up the backline of T1 so that they can then focus fire on these squishies. Obviously, if either of these team comps gets ahead, it will be a bit more difficult for either of them. But yeah, so far in a standard approach, T1 is a bit easier to play, while Keria has the onus on them to punish T1's comp. So with that being said, you already see 2-1 looking good for T1 so far. Makes me happy as an obviously T1 fan here. So I hope to see my team here move on to 7-5 and tie with Keria, who will then also be 7-5. I do not know the result yet, so all that's left is to just relax, crack a cold one open, and enjoy the show. So hope you also are going to have a great day. We're going to see each other then around with the next T1 series. Stay safe, and again, don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content.